You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.
You're tapped in, so let's get right to it. So this Nolan Wells issue, the case or the murder, the death of Nolan Wells, is up in the news. It's stayed in the news since it occurred July the 4th. There are is a lot of information starting to come out, and people are coming to their own conclusions in regards to what actually happened to this young brother. It could be said that he was murdered, allegedly by his so-called three friends. It could be said that they didn't necessarily murder him, but he drowned. This is what we're hearing. In any respect, the fact of the matter is this young brother's dead. All right. And for those who had professed to be his friends, and they said it just like that, he was my friend. They're not actually being forthright. A lot of people are looking at the situation as though they have something to hide. There are certain issues or circumstances coming up regarding Nolan Wells, his being in the company of them, those three friends, and then they're leaving without him. They in possession of his cell phone. Make that make sense. All right. And then the ping on the cell phone being in one location while, they said they found it in another. There's so much going on. Also, that the dinghy or boat that they were in was sinking. Come to find out that's not true. So there's a lot going on with this case. Now, but the latest, and I have to say, as a result of what we're seeing taking place, there just seems to be a twist at every turn. And the latest twist in this turn in respect to the death of this young brother, Nolan Wells, we have the governor of Mississippi. Now, the governor of Mississippi goes on local news, and he talks about how much faith and confidence he has in the sheriff in Jackson County. One thing is missing from his whole interview or press conference in regards to the situation of the death of Nolan Wells. What was missing was a condolences, a certain respect given to the mother and father of a deceased child. Not once did this governor of Mississippi, the governor of Mississippi, say in any regard, we extend our condolences to the Wells family for their loss. Not one time. Not one time. And I think that governor's name is Tate Reeves, who's a Republican. He not once said, hey, we extend our condolences for the loss of your child. And a lot of us find that we find something wrong with that. We find there to be something wrong with that. Okay. Again, here you have a situation though. Now, whatever occurred to Nolan Wells, let's get it straight. That's wrong. It's a sad loss, and it's even sadder. And we should be more upset if it comes out that he was murdered. All right. And that's where, a lot of us we're pointing our finger in that direction. He was murdered. All right. But now here's the thing. Tragic loss. This young brother losing his life at 18 years of age, had a bright future ahead of him. They can't even say or begin to want to say he was a problem child. He come from a two-parent household. Both parents are gainfully employed professionals. So, there's nothing they can say in that respect. Most of the people who knew Nolan Wells, his peers, spoke highly of him, so there's that. But then there's this, and this is directed at all parents of young Black men and women who, rather than lace school structure, advise, and let their children know the dangers of certain affiliations. When parents don't do their jobs in that respect, there's a disservice being handed out or not being dealt with. All right. Now, we know that a lot of parents want to raise their children outside the scope or this thing called racism. And that's a fallacy. That's a fantasy for any black parent to want to raise their child or children as though racism does not exist, as though there aren't people out in society who have bad intentions towards black people. Some of our people, parents, black men and women, raise their children to not see color, to not focus on, recognize, or even confront racism. You see a lot of this nowadays with a lot of our youth. They tend to smile about it and laugh about it like it's no big deal. And it's on the contrary, it is a big deal. It will remain to be a big deal until we eradicate it, especially from our lives, our everyday lives and experiences. Some parents, though, again, are at fault. And I have to say that. If you're raising your children to think that or to believe that racism is non-factor, it doesn't affect them, and I can imagine most parents say, racism only affects you if you think about it, if you let it affect you. No, it's not how it works. Racism exists to affect you in some form or fashion. But we have black parents, mothers and fathers who, again, want to raise their children as though racism is not this blight on American history, on the history of this country. It is real. It is real. And the Wells family can attest to that, even, and again, hypothetically, those three individuals did not do anything. Still look at their behavior. Their behavior speaks not of love and respect for Nolan. Why would they go about the way they went about it if there was love and respect for this young brother? A friend wouldn't do that. In fact, if they got the phone, a friend would call the phone, use the phone or use their phones and call way before they get to where Nolan lived, where his mother and father resided, and say, hey, there's a problem. Meet us out at such and such ridge or a port or whatever. We can't find Nolan. There's that. And then, again, friends wouldn't, erase pertinent information from their phones nor return Nolan's phone to his parents with all the information erased, scrapped, gone. All right. So again, when we talk about this type of thing taking place with our children, we have to first, let's look at the parents. Let's look at the adults. And we're not blaming, but we're saying to these parents, these black parents who have black children who they raised to think that racism is not a factor in their life. You guys gotta do better. You have to do better. You have to do better. All right. We look at the Nolan, the Wells family, and we, everybody has an opinion about the dad. They seems to be so soft and docile, not angry enough, not enough energy to really, let it be known that, hey, this is unacceptable in any form or fashion. The mother, constantly giving these interviews, and there's no anger, there's no demand. I mean, visceral demand, from her core, from his core, and hey, we're not playing. National TV or news or whatever, MFs, we're not playing. We don't see that. We see parents who seem to be, the mother distraught, but otherwise cool, calm, and collected. As though, okay, oh my God, my baby, There's no real feeling or feel to this loss. And I mean in terms of anger. I understand the tears. Most of us do. But by the same token, most of us understand that we live in a racist society. And at every turn, there are racists looking to snuff out Black lives as though they don't matter. Let's be realistic about this, people. Nolan Wells is just one of many in the span of a month or two who have been found murdered, hung. Nolan wasn't the only one who was drowned. There's another brother who was drowned by his friends, white people. The hangings, the bodies discovered hanging from trees have all been considered or they've been called or titled suicides. They've been all deemed suicides. Suicides? Black youth, black men and women who have futures. No issues of mental instability, no peer pressure issues, none of that. Young black men and women looking to go out into the world to change it. Their deaths were ruled or have been ruled suicides. We're not doing enough to raise our children in the respect that they understand that for every moment they're out in society, and especially away from their own communities, their lives are in the balance. Yeah, it's true that some of them could very well have lost their lives in some silly gang shooting or something, but those statistics, those percentages are very, very low. The fact that they're being found hung in woods, or drowned, or dead in oceans or seas is another thing. This is something that needs to be addressed. Again, parents aren't doing enough to tell the child, whether he's a young man or a woman, hey, okay, it's fine to go have a good time. Be aware of your environment. Be aware of your surroundings. Everybody you call a friend is not a friend. People you may love, like, and appreciate may not like, love, and appreciate you. People with ulterior motives will smile in your face all day long and say all the things you'd like to hear from a friend, an acquaintance, an associate. That doesn't make them that. A lot of our black parents are not raising our boys and girls, our young men and women, in the right way. They're not warning them and preparing them about society, about white supremacy, about racism, about the police. A lot of our parents would tell the child, hey, do what the police says. So you imagine you ingrain this in a young child to the point where they grow up, they become 17, 18, have a permit to drive, and they're coming home after gathering, whatever, 11, 12 at night on the interstate or dark road, police pulls them over. People are not looking at this thing correctly. We allege also that the police have a hand in a lot of these lynchings. We think that. We allege that police have the ability to turn off a dash cam, a body cam, pull over an individual. Okay, step out the car, confiscate the phone. Partner maybe jump in the car and drive the car where it needs to be. If that's the case. The point is, the police are just as culpable or guilty of unaliving young black men and women, stringing them up, or handing them over to brothers, cousins, uncles, nephews who are into that type of thing. We've always said to our people here, hey, if you're getting pulled over and it's a dark road, do not stop. Hit your hazard lights, do 30 miles an hour till you reach the next lit location. And in that location, hopefully there are people. And at that location, hopefully there are cameras. And hopefully you have enough presence of mind to record. If not live, record. but never or do not allow yourself to be pulled over on a dark road. I don't give a dang who it is. No, your safety comes first. And if they're peeved and pissed off because you went 30 miles an hour with the hazards on until you got to a well-lit gas station, AM, PM, mini market, or anything where there are people and cameras, then hey, go on, and that's all right. That's a sacrifice worth taking. You're willing to go that route, then allow yourself to be stopped on a dark road by white police officers who have an agenda. And again, yes, that's what we're alleging, that they're involved in a lot of these lynchings, these abductions and lynchings of Black men and women. That's what we're saying. But again, a lot of this has to point back to the parents. We've gotten to the point where a lot of us tend to feel too comfortable in this society. A lot of us actually believe and or trust that the system has changed, that we've come a long way, baby. The reality is we have not. Some of us have good jobs that pay well, went to school to get these jobs, have to fight to keep these jobs. And you know the hardships and struggles you've had to have, you've been enduring and or been faced with just to keep the job you have or get in the position of that job you like so well. A lot of us, again, we become too comfortable. We begin to think that we, as Black Americans, African Americans, or FBAs, are actually a part of this country. Black parents are doing a disservice to the youth, to their children. And I say that in regards to not only lacing these Black men and young men and women about the hazards in society, the racism that exists, white supremacy, the bigotry, and the murder that lurks in the shadows. You know, I say that readily, quickly, and I mean it. But just as well, I say that applies also to our young Black men and women, boys and girls who are in the streets, who have parents, and they're involved in all aspects of vices, criminality, or gang banging mentality or culture, and they're not doing their jobs as parents. It cuts both ways. As Black parents, we have to do more. We have to do more, not just to protect our children, but to educate them, make them aware that their lives are in danger, that it means more to watch what's going on around them rather than to want to see who's paying attention to them in the manner they want. You know, a lot of our children are caught up in this attention seeking thing, especially our Black women. A lot of them will go places with a lot of these people, never to return, will sell themselves to these people for money, not necessarily for needs, but for wants, and never return. Black parents are not doing their job. Plain and simple. Nolan Wells and others who are no longer with us did not have to go out in that manner. Had they just understood how to go out in public with a friend, with someone that looks like them. Yeah, some of you saying, well, it would have been both of them. That would have been a hard fight, though. That would have been a harder takedown to make. Black parents, you fathers especially, and you mothers, indubitably have to do better in terms of raising these Black children with the mindset that they are in danger. That simple. And for you fathers, your life should be forfeit for the life of your children, period, point blank. give your life up for your children. That's really what it's about, right? That's what we need to start seeing within the Black community all over this country. You give your life for your children. You will do whatever you need to do, come what may. Don't play with the children. All right. Now, a lot of you may not agree with much of what I said, and that's okay. It's just my opinion. In my opinion, it just is what it is. Nolan Wells did not have to go that way. His demise should not have ended like that. Had he known better than to seclude himself, have himself secluded from other people like him and in the presence of no one like him. It's a parent's job to protect the children, and if that protection calls for them being educated, informed, schooled, laced about the dangers in white society, then so be it. So be it. Again, Black fathers, you're not angry enough. And Black mothers, you aren't whooping enough ass. A lot of tears, a lot of grief, but not enough ass kicking. The world is changing, everybody. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. An eye for an eye. Take one of mine, 2 or 3 of yours. But someone's going to have to pay that bill. Someone is going to have to pay that bill. This is the art of political discourse. You have been tapped in. Please like, share, follow, comment. Please, by all means, comment and subscribe to this channel. We're not fucking around. Let's get on cold. Let's get on cold. You young brothers, start understanding and realizing your surroundings, especially when you look around and find you're the only one in that crowd who's melanated. Know the danger you're in. Young sisters, stop pricing yourselves so cheap. Stop looking for approval of people who don't look like you. And that would also include people who look like you. More respect for yourselves, more grace and dignity. Do not put yourselves in a position that you cannot get out of once you're in it. Power is in the people. Power is in the people. Take care of yourselves and each other, because no one else will. We are all we got. Peace, everybody.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.